Good evening. We're learning Parshat Vayishlach. We're using the Art Scroll Chumash. We're on page 171. In last week's Parsha, Yaakov met angels twice. Once in his dream when he was going to Lavan's house to get married, and the second time in real life when he was coming back from Lavan's house. This time he was married with 12 children, 11 boys and 1 girl. And our sages point out to the difference, and they say that the reason why Yaakov is now meriting to see angels in real life is because he is now married with children. Person who is married is on more complete, and the person who has children, he has worked on himself so much with the spouse and now with the children that he becomes a perfect human being, and he can even be on the same level with angels. And now Yaakov in this week's Parsha actually interacts with these angels, as it says, then Yaakov sent angels ahead of him to Esav, his brother, to the land of Seir, the field of Edom. Yaakov is going soon. He is going to meet Esav, and he's not sure what mood Esav is in. Maybe Esav is still angry. Maybe Esav forgot about it. Maybe Esav is preparing for war. So he sent angels as a reconnaissance mission, as spies, to find out what's going on with Esav. So Yaakov sent angels ahead of him to Esav, his brother, and he commanded them, saying, "Thus shall you say to my lord, to Esav, so said your servant Yaakov, I lived with Lavan, and I was delayed until now, and I acquired oxen and donkeys, flocks, servants, maidservants, and I'm standing to tell my lord to find favor in your eyes." So the angels went on a mission to greet Esav, to give him a positive message from Yaakov. Dear Esav, Yaakov misses you, he's coming back, he is viewing you as his Lord, as his master, he's humble, he hopes you will accept him, he wants to find favor in your eyes. And in verse 7, angels returned to Yaakov, saying, "We came to your brother, to Esav, and we gave him the message. Moreover, he is heading toward you, and 400 men are with him." Now that's a news that Yaakov didn't want to hear. If Esav was coming himself with a few servants, if Esav was coming with his children or his wives, so then there is a chance. Now Esav is coming with 400 men. Now in Kabbalah, the number 400 represents evil. It represents Satan. So Esav chose 400 men as a sign that he doesn't want peace. He wants to fight till death. Esav is showing that he did not forgive Yaakov. He didn't forgive Yaakov. And not only that, he is planning to fight him. He is bringing an army. Now, at this point, we have to keep in mind, how old were Yaakov and Esav? We may imagine them as young men in their 30s, 40s, who are hot-blooded, hot-headed. But as we know, Yaakov last saw Esav when he was 63. They were both 63. Yaakov left his parents' home. He went to the academy of Shem and Ever, to the yeshiva, and he spent 14 years. When he was 77, he came to the house of Lavan. He worked for 7 years for Rachel. Then, because he was strict, he worked for an additional 7 years, and then he worked for another 6 years because Lavan begged him to stay longer. So 7 plus 7 plus 6 gives us 20 years in Lavan's house. If Yaakov came to Lavan's house when he was 77, he left Lavan's house when he was 97. That means Yaakov and Esav at this juncture are 97 years old. They're two sages, two grandpas that are meeting each other. Yaakov is not a grandpa yet, but Esav is, because Esav got married when he was 40. Yaakov got married when he was 84. So Yaakov got married 44 years after Esav. So now, this 97-year-old man, Esav, is bringing 400 soldiers with him to fight. Now we turn to page 173. Yaakov prepares in 3 ways. Number 1, he prepares militarily. Verse 8, Yaakov became very frightened, and it distressed him. He didn't know what to expect. He might be killed, or he might kill his brother. So he divided the people with him, and the flocks, cattle, and camels into 2 camps. And he said, if Esav comes to one camp and strikes it down, then the remaining camp has a chance to survive. But he doesn't say has a chance, rather he says shall survive, will for sure survive. How does Yaakov know that the second camp will for sure survive? And that is because Rivka gave Yaakov a prophecy. Rivka said to Yaakov, why should I lose both of you on the same day? That means that Rivka told Yaakov that both he and Esav are going to be buried on the same day. So Yaakov decided, and that's what the Parshat says, that he put the 2 camps 1 day distance apart. It would take a man on a horse, so these soldiers on horses, 1 day to travel to get to the second camp. And his reasoning was that in case Esav will kill Yaakov, Esav will have to die within 24 hours. And then if it takes Esav 24 hours to get to the second camp, by the time he gets there, he's going to be dead. So this way, Yaakov guaranteed that half of his family will survive. Now, that's the first preparation. The second preparation is prayer. In verse 10, then Yaakov said, God of my father Abraham and God of my father Yitzhak, Hashem, who said to me, return to your land and to your relatives, and I will do good with you. Hashem, you told me to leave Lavan and come to my father. You are the one who told me to go towards Esav. You have to protect me. I have been diminished by all the kindnesses and by all the truth that you have done your servant. Yaakov is now thanking Hashem for all the good that he did. For with my staff I crossed this Jordan, and now I have become 2 camps. When I came to Lavan, I was alone. I didn't have any possessions except for a staff, for my staff. And now, not only I'm alive and healthy, 20 years later, and even 34 years later if we count the years in yeshiva, but now I have enough people and animals to make 2 camps. Hashem, you gave me so much that I feel humbled. I feel diminished by so much kindness. Verse 12, rescue me, please, from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esav, for I fear him, lest he come and strike me down, mother and children. And unfortunately, this is something that we had to be afraid of, because this is something that happened time and again throughout our long, difficult history, that the children of Esav and children of our other enemies did come and they did strike us, and mothers and children. So Yaakov is praying for himself and for future generation. And verse 13, and you, God, said, I will surely do good with you, and I will make your offspring like the sand of the sea, which is too numerous to count. Just like Abraham, Yaakov has a dilemma. Hashem said to Abraham, you will have many children. And he said, you will have all those children from your son Yitzhak. But then Hashem himself told Abraham, take Yitzhak and bring him as an offering. So Abraham didn't understand. Hashem, I have 2 contradictory predictions. One is that Yitzhak will produce a lot of children for me. On the other hand, you're telling me to kill him. How's that possible? But nevertheless, Abraham listened to Hashem, his command the second time, and he brought his son on an altar as an offering. And then Hashem showed him how to reconcile both by stopping him and telling him it was a test. He didn't mean that he should slaughter him, just bring it up and then bring him down. Yaakov is in the same dilemma. On one hand, he has a promise from Hashem himself that his children will be too numerous to count. But now he's in a situation that is very dangerous. He might die and part of his family might die. But at the same time, he has emunah and bitachon. He trusts Hashem that everything will be fine. And even though he trusts, he still has to pray. He still has to prepare militarily. Because we have a rule, as they say in Russian, na Boga nadейся, но сам не плашай. That means you have to trust Hashem, but at the same time you cannot sit idly and wait for Hashem to do everything. You have to put in effort. Whatever is up to you, you have to do, and the rest is up to Hashem. So that's what Yaakov is doing. He prepared by separating the camps. He is praying. And now, the third way to prepare for battle is to try to appease the enemy, to try to avoid the battle altogether. As they teach us in martial arts, the first rule is don't fight. If you can avoid the fight by giving away your money, by not standing on your ground, he wants to pass, let him pass, even though you're first. Be smart, don't be right. If you need to bribe, bribe. If you need to praise, praise. But it's not the right thing to prove that you are stronger. Your life is too precious to play games with. And therefore Yaakov says, I would rather avoid the conflict at all. So, verse 14, he spent the night there, and he took from that which had come in his hand, which means from his possessions, a tribute to Esav, his brother, a gift for Esav. And the gift is enormous, a huge, expensive gift. What did he give him? He gave him 200 female goats and 20 male goats, 200 female sheep and 20 rams, 30 camels and with their babies, so together 60 camels, 40 cows and 10 bulls, 20 female donkeys and 10 male donkeys. Altogether, if you count, there are 580 animals, and if you count 30 male camels, because in the count the male camels are not listed, but our Chachamim, our sages say that in addition to female camels and babies, he also gave him 30 male camels. It comes to 610 animals, and according to some, 640 animals. Imagine 600 animals, among them sheep, goats, cows, donkeys, camels. A huge gift. And he did it in a smart way. He put his servants separately, each group at a distance. And he told his servants, go ahead of me and leave a space between each group, so that Esav sees one group coming and he is impressed, and he asks, who is it from? Oh, it's from your brother, he's giving you a gift. Okay, maybe he's not gonna be so happy yet. And then he sees far away another group is coming, and he's patiently waiting, expecting another gift, and he sees a huge gift again. First the sheep, then an hour later comes another group with goats, and another hour later comes another group with cows, and an hour later comes the group with donkeys, and an hour later comes the group with camels. And his heart is becoming softer and softer. His greed is being fed, his haughtiness is being fed, and therefore his anger is subsiding. And he instructed them, when my brother Esav meets you and asks you, saying, now we turn to page 175, whose are you? Where are you going? And whose are these that are before you? You shall say, your servant Yaakov's. It's your brother's, but he's your servant. It is a gift sent to my Lord, my master, to Esav, and he himself is behind us. He instructed each one like that. And imagine, not only Esav is getting a gift, but Esav is also getting a positive message. A message of peace, a message of humility, a message of goodwill. So we can learn a lot of psychology and a lot of insight how to deal with difficult people. And in fact, our sages throughout the millennia have studied this chapter before they had to encounter their enemies, whether it was battle or negotiation. Before they had to go to Roman officials to negotiate on the behalf of the Jewish people, they studied it and they followed it. They brought a lot of gifts and good words to those in charge. And very often it worked, just like it worked over here, as we shall see. Now, we're in verse 21. He further said to them that the message should include the following words: Behold, your servant Yaakov is behind us. For he said, Yaakov said to himself, I will appease him with this gift that precedes me, and afterwards I will face him. Perhaps he will forgive him. Before you speak about something difficult, you have to appease a person. You have to speak politely, you have to speak with respect, you have to praise them, make them feel good, and only then state your request. In the relationship between husband and wife, this is also very important. Don't break the news, don't start talking about a sensitive issue right away. First, make the person feel good. Praise them. Give them something nice. Calm them down. And then, little by little, present the issue. So, verse 22, the tribute passed on before him while he spent that night in the camp. Now, in the middle of the night, he got up and he took his 2 wives and 2 handmaids and his 11 sons and crossed the ford, the shallow part of the river Yabok. He felt unsafe to stay on that side of the river, so he transferred them onto the other side of the river. In case Esau encounters him, they will be safe. And when he took them and had them cross over the stream, he sent over his possessions. Yaakov was left alone on the other side of the river at night, darkness. And a man wrestled with him until the break of dawn. Surprising. Where did this man come from? Who is he? Why is Yaakov alone? And this man who appeared like a human being was an angel. This was a guardian angel of Esau. He was the representation of evil itself, the Satan. Because Yaakov and Esau represent 2 opposite realities. Yaakov represents the truth and goodness, and Esau represents evil. And their corresponding guardian angels are also opposite concepts. The concept of spiritual good and the concept of spiritual negativity. So since Yaakov represents the good in this world, so the spiritual force came down to this world to fight with him. And the fight was not a physical fight. It was a fight of 2 spiritual giants. This was an intellectual fight, a spiritual fight, and although we don't see angels in the physical world, in the physical form, but our forefathers did. And in fact, an angel can appear in the physical world in physical form. Unlike God, we say that God himself cannot appear in a human form. Why? That's simple, because God encompasses everything. Hashem is creating the universe every moment that we speak. We are in his mind. The entire universe is just a concept in God's mind. And therefore, it is impossible for God himself to come into the physical world, because if that would be possible and he would enter the physical world, then there is no more God who is thinking. There is no more universe. So God, being beyond the universe, cannot constrict himself and fit himself into his own mind, into the universe that he created. This is unlike the Christian concept, and that is why we disagree with Christians on the concept of what God is. According to them, a God is some spiritual being. He can come into this world, and he can appear as a human being. We say God cannot appear as a human being. God can send an angel to represent him and to communicate with people on his behalf. But Hashem himself does not appear in a physical form. Now, if anyone has a question, you can ask in the chat, or if it's urgent, you can unmute yourself and ask. Now, the angel of Esav is fighting with Yaakov until the break of dawn. When he perceived that he could not overcome him, when the angel saw that Yaakov is strong, he is committed to God, and he has God in his mind, and no matter what the angel of Esav does, he cannot break Yaakov. This is a prediction that no matter how much the nations of the world will try to influence us to abandon our religion, to abandon Hashem, we, the Jewish people, will be strong, and we will always choose death rather than conversion. So he decided to do a trick. He struck the socket of his hip. He struck him on a hip, and he dislocated his hip. So Yaakov's hip socket was dislocated as he wrestled with him. And Yaakov still didn't let him go, even though Yaakov is injured. And that's again a prediction that in the future there will come a time that the Jewish nation will be injured, but they will still not give up. And it happened many times. The last time it happened was in the Holocaust. The Jewish people were very much injured, but we didn't give up. And then the angel of Esav begged, "Let me go, for the dawn has broken. It's light, it's getting light. I don't have power." Light represents the truth. In the world of truth, falsehood doesn't have power, cannot survive. As soon as the light of dawn appears, the angel of Esav says, "I lost my power. I cannot survive. Let me go, please." And Yaakov answered, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." Now that Yaakov sees that he has power over Esav, he takes advantage of it and says, "Admit your defeat and bless me." Esav so far did not accept that Yaakov is the firstborn, that Yaakov bought the right of the firstborn, that Yaakov got the blessings, and his father agreed that he should keep the blessings. So Yaakov says to the angel of Esav, "You admit that I'm the firstborn and bless me." So angel had no choice. He said, "What's your name?" As if he doesn't know, and he answered, "Yaakov." So the angel said, "No longer will it be said that your name is Yaakov, because Yaakov represents lowly stature, the heel, but rather Yisrael your name will be. For you have fought with the divine and with man and have overcome. You fought against Lavan and you won, and now you fought against divine being, an angel, the messenger of God, and you won again." So now he has the name Yisrael from the word Sar. Sar means a minister, a leader, but also it means the one that fought. And the word El means divine being, that you fought with a divine being. So the name Yisrael means someone who has a lot of spiritual strength.